What's up, faithful? Man, it feels like the 49ers have not played a game in about a month, but that is about to change. It's week 10 already. Nothing goes by faster than the NFL season. It's early November. Brian, I don't know about you. It's dark right now here, 4:30, 5 o'clock. What is it like in California? Do you guys have more light? I mean, I know it's sunshine all the time, but
No, it still gets dark at about 5. It
it's
starts to get dark
depressing
about
as hell,
5:15.
man.
Yeah. No, I love it. I mean,
You do?
this is my
Why?
favorite. This is my favorite time. I don't know. I've just always like, if you look at anything, like all of my I'm an Apple guy. Like everything that I have is Apple. But like my computer is dark mode, my phone is dark mode. Like I just, for whatever reason, I just love the dark. And so I've always, my whole life, like when winter hits and it's like dark early, I love it. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you what it is. It's just something that like sits right in my soul for whatever reason. So no,
You're like
this
Batman.
is my time. This is my time of year. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
I love it.
Batman.
I love
Or are
it.
you
I am.
depressed?
Maybe that's what it is.
Are you depressed or no?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't
He
think
was like,
so. I don't think so.
well, now
But
that you mention it.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I I mean, you get home from work, it's dark outside already. It's brutal. I just feel like you're all like you got to be in your house. And I don't know if it's daylight savings time or standard time, but vintage Twitter I put out the other day like,
Mhm.
I hate daylight savings time. It sucks. And thank you to everyone for correcting me that this isn't daylight
Right.
savings, it's standard time.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what it's called. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's dark. I don't like it. So whether you want to
Yes.
call it standard time or daylight savings, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, like the legitimately like 5 people who did, to correct me on what you think it's called. I don't care. I don't care at all. But thank you for that. Oh God, fucking Twitter. All right. Anyway, you know what I was thinking about as we head into the second half of the 49ers season? We don't know trends with Brock Purdy yet because he's only really played a
Sure.
full season. So I was just looking through stats today when I was getting ready for the show, and Purdy's fourth right now in yards per game, 262. He's at 8.7 yards per attempt. He was really high last year too. He led the league last year. He's second best right now. He's on pace for 484 attempts in 16 games. So he only played 16 games last year. Last year in 16 games, he had 444. So he is throwing a little bit more. I'm interested to see how this second half goes. Now, last year before the bye, the Niners had the bye in week 8 or after week 8, both last year and this year. Purdy was really struggling. He had 3 TDs and 5 picks in the game before.
Yikes.
And that was without Debo, without Williams. That was
Mhm.
that 3-game losing streak. This season, 10 TD passes, 7 interceptions, and he's been kind of all over the place. Well, I think he's played
Yeah.
well for the most part, but he's had a couple games where you're like, he didn't
Yeah.
play so well. Same thing last year. Now, after the bye last year, he came out, he had back-to-back 3 touchdown pass games. And after the bye in those, 8 games, 19 touchdowns, 19 and 6 interceptions, and 4 of those picks came against the Ravens game.
Right. The one
Take
game,
that
yeah.
out. He had 19 picks and 2 interceptions in 7 games. That's phenomenal. So
Yeah.
he was really good after the bye for the most part. And I'm interested to see if he bounces back in that same kind of way. If McCaffrey comes back, I know there's no Ayuk, but is Purdy going to come back and statistically be that strong again? We don't know, but there's guys like Joe Burrow who start out slow. And then he always, they're a lot like the Niners, the Bengals. They're really good in the second half of the year. So I was just thinking about that today. I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, and it was interesting to hear you say that, he's on pace right now to have 40 more attempts than he did last year, which over the course of 16 games is really just 2 extra attempts a game, because it certainly felt like to start this season, he was throwing more. And maybe that was kind of, you look at like the Rams game, right? In week 3, he had 30 attempts. And it felt like he was throwing more. And we had tried to figure out like, hey, is this team going to try to throw more now that they have Brock Purdy? They've signed Ayuk to this big extension. Like, is this going to be a situation where we do see them throw more? And then also, once we realized, hey, McCaffrey's going to be out for an extended period of time, again, are they going to go more to the air? And it certainly seems like while there are certain games that they really haven't changed the formula all that much. And again, we talked about it last episode. They've been really, really good between the 20s. And then really it's just the red zone where they've really struggled. And so,
In the
it certainly
explosive plays.
seems, yeah. And it certainly seems like McCaffrey will be back for this game. Shanahan said that he's been awesome these last 2 days. Hopefully that continues to go well. I expect to get him out there. It'll be interesting to see exactly how much he plays. I think they're going to have to figure out a way to save him from himself. And we thought that prior to the injury. And now that, he's been out this long with these injuries, it's even more so they're going to have to save him from himself. But
What do you think? How many touches do you think he gets? Like if you had to put a number on it right now.
Total touches?
Yeah. He's back and he plays and he starts. How many do you think he gets? How many do you think he should get?
I think I would say he'll probably get 10 to 12 on the ground, and then maybe 3 to 5 in the air. And I think that's
we've been doing the show together too long. I don't know if you can see it. You can't. I wrote 12 carries and 3 receptions. That's exactly what I wrote down right there.
Outstanding. But yeah, I think that seems like a nice middle ground between, the bell cow that he was last year, and also understanding that you still have Mason, you still have Isaac Guerrero. There really wasn't, in my opinion, they are better set up this year with the guys behind him than they were last year, even with, I do this all the time. I already forget his name because he hasn't.
Mitchell.
Thank you, Elijah Mitchell. Jordan Mason was a part of it last year, but again, I don't think Kyle Shanahan trusted him very much. Obviously, he does now. So I think there's enough behind him that Shanahan will be comfortable, giving those extra touches to those guys, and also in pursuit of limiting his touches so that he's not coming out of this game, and now he's got to miss another game because he's got Achilles soreness or whatever. So yeah, I think 10 to 15
with him.
Yeah, I think 10 to 15 on the ground and 3 to 5 in the air, I think would be, I think that would be fair. And I think that would also, I think that likely gets him at least a 1 touchdown in the game.
And I'm interested to see too if Brock is going to check down more. I assume that he will. I mean, we've seen him throw to McCaffrey at 67 completions to him last year.
Yeah.
So, that'll definitely be a part of the passing game as well. As we get into the second half of the season, with Ayuk out, the 2 players that I'm intrigued by the most, we know what Kittle is, we know what Debo is, we know what McCaffrey will be if he's healthy. How do they make up for Ayuk? And the 2 names obviously are Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings. So I'll start with Pearsall. They didn't make a trade for a receiver, and he was a large part of that. He was a large part of that because they have faith in him, obviously, and because they want him to develop, because next year you still may not have Ayuk. Debo, as much as I think right now, it's insane for them to move on from him. You don't know what's going to happen. So they want him to develop. Now, through 2 games, he's been involved. He's got 1 carry for 39 yards, and he's been targeted 9 times in 2 games, and he's got 7 catches for 59 yards. Now, after you come back from getting shot and you're a rookie, that's a lot to be incorporated, I feel like. Seriously, it's more targets than I thought he was going to have. But they've been shorter targets. So he's only averaging 8.4 yards per reception. Now, having said that, if Purdy doesn't get sacked, if Guerrero doesn't miss the block at the end of the Dallas game, he might have hit Pearsall for a pass he's still running on. So his numbers would have been much better than the 7 for 59, but that would have just been 1 throw. The larger sample size is shorter routes. But again, he's a rookie. They're figuring it out with him. They clearly trust him. So what is his role going to be? How big is it going to be? I can still see him 3-4 catches a game. I think he's going to be an integral part of the offense moving forward.
Yeah, I think the 2 that you talked about, right? Pearsall, I think he is, but at the same time, we know that Kyle Shanahan is famously reluctant to use rookies, especially at wide receiver. I think the amount that he's been used already, it kind of surprised me a little bit. But again, you're also in a situation where you were down Juwan Jennings and you were down Brandon Ayuk. But Jennings is back. And honestly, I think to me, that's the guy that is going to benefit the most from Ayuk being out. Not because he runs the same routes that Ayuk runs or anything like that. But, I was looking at, previous games just to kind of get an idea of kind of where Jennings was prior to his injury. And, Jennings had his huge game against the Rams. He had in that game, obviously we know he had 175 yards, but he had 12 targets in a game that Brandon Ayuk was also in. Now Debo was out that game. And so, I don't know where Debo would have fit in, but even if you look at the next game against the Patriots, Debo, Ayuk, and Jennings were all there. Jennings still led the team in targets, far less with 6. I think Brandon Ayuk's replacement, quote unquote, in terms of production is probably going to be Juwan Jennings. Mainly because I think Brock Purdy has a good chemistry with him. And I think, Kyle Shanahan trusts him. But I think Pearsall is going to be the guy where you're going to look up and go, oh man, he just got hit for a 30 to 45 yard gain on a crosser, a deep crosser, whatever the case may be. Because I think teams are, with CMC back, teams are going to focus on CMC. And then from there, it's going to be Debo and Kittle and Jennings. So I really do think Pearsall has an opportunity to be matched up on some guys that are probably not going to be or going to be an advantageous matchup for him. And so I don't think he's going to be a big part of the offense, but I think there are going to be multiple games where we see, Pearsall has a huge gain or a long touchdown or whatever the case may be. Yeah. But I do think that Jennings is going to be the guy that replaces Ayuk's volume. Again, not his explosive plays, obviously. Again, I talked last episode that Khalil Davis, the defensive tackle that the 49ers just traded for, ran a 4.7 540 at 6'3", 315. Juwan Jennings ran a 4.7 240 coming out of Tennessee. So again, he's not a burner, obviously, and we know that. But he's got strong hands. He's a great route runner, and he is a guy that can go up and get you a ball. And so to me, it's Jennings is going to have the bigger impact. But I agree with you. I think, instead of trading a third round pick, a fourth round pick, a fifth round pick for a Deontay Johnson or whoever the case may be, I think they're like, hey, let's keep those picks and let's just allow the guys that we drafted this past year make an impact. And I think that's the right move. I don't think there was any move out there at wide receiver that would have made a big impact. And then also, again, you want to know what you have in these guys because, like you said, Ayuk is going to be out at least for the first half of next season, and we don't know if Debo is going to be on this team. So you got to know what you got in your two rookies. And so, with that being said, I hope we start to see Cowing get a little bit more run as well. You had mentioned last episode who's going to be the deep threat. That's him. That's who it is. And so I'd like to see them start to incorporate that a little bit.
With Jennings, he had that huge game, like you mentioned, against the Rams, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. 11 catches, 175 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The next week, he had 88 yards. Other than that, he has fallen into that complimentary role, but he makes huge catches. Purdy clearly trusts him. But we'll see if he's going to get more opportunities because Ayuk is out. The trust factor is there. And he's showed up over and over and over again. He's stepped up over and over and over again. So he's a guy that I have a ton of faith in to be able to make catches and help move the ball. Yep. Where I am concerned is, and we've kept talking about this, the deep throws. Who's that deep threat going to be? They're going to be 9 guys in the box or whatever, and they're going to be playing the Niners tight because I don't think they fear anything over the top there. So we'll have to see how that goes. But still, certainly enough talent there to move the ball and score points.
For sure.
I was looking at some defensive stuff today too, because we both talked about that we wanted them to do something else on the defensive line, because I just don't think it's good enough, especially opposite Bosa. Look at their sack numbers right now, and sacks aren't everything, but Bosa only has 4.5. He's on pace for 9 or 10. Givens has 3.5. Collins, Floyd, and Sammy O have 3. Warner, Hargrave, and somebody else has 1. I love when I can't. Oh, Evan Anderson. I was gonna say I love when I can't read my handwriting. Has 1. It's not a ton of sacks there. When you look at the pressures, Nick Bosa is 4th in the NFL with 25 pressures. You got to go all the way down to 43rd in the NFL to find the next 49er, and that's Leonard Floyd with 12. And then Collins has 11.
Brutal.
It is brutal. And when you look at hurries, Nick Bosa has 10. The next person is Floyd with 3. So they don't have a lot of guys who are consistently getting pass rush. Their stat I saw with Bosa that I thought was nuts. Do you know he's got a missed tackle percentage of 20% this year? He's missed 7 tackles.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I realized that watching the
Brutal.
games.
Yeah. I haven't either, which tells you that maybe they're not affecting the game as much as, it sounds that, because obviously that's a wildly negative stat.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
But again, if you haven't really noticed it on film, then maybe it's not as impactful. It's just like a surprising
Well,
stat.
it's not like a linebacker who misses it in the center of the field and you can
Right.
juke and
True.
there's another 10
True.
yards. So
True.
I don't know what
It's not
I've
as
seen him miss a
obvious.
couple. I've
Mhm.
definitely seen him miss a couple, but I didn't think 7. I was like, holy shit. And you're not
Yeah.
getting that many opportunities. Obviously, 20%. That's what 7 out of, I can't do math. Is it 7 out of 35 or something like that? 35 attempts it would be. That's a lot of missed
Yeah.
tackles.
Yep.
Look at me
Yeah.
doing math on the spot. Yeah,
Look at
that's a lot of
you.
missed tackles though to do that. So, but still, moral of the story is they need somebody else to step up pass rush wise. Is Gross
Mhm.
Matos going to do it when he comes back? I doubt it. He's not somebody who I think is going to come in and be this great sack guy all of a sudden, just out of the
Yeah.
blue. They brought in Leonard Floyd to do that, but Leonard Floyd is kind of Leonard Floyd. So I don't know if there's an answer there for that.
I will say this, and it made me actually look up waiver order rules in the NFL, because I thought for sure that it was just reverse record order. It is not. Waiver order is determined by the previous season's record, and also draft order. But all that to say, the Ravens released Yannick Ngakoue
I
today,
saw that.
and I thought to myself, hey, that could be a pickup that could help the 49ers, but I imagine that they're likely not going to be able to get him if waiver order is determined from 2023 records, because they're going to be really low on that list.
I got excited at the name, but he just got caught, man. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like he's clearly not the player he was a few years ago. So it's a Band-Aid and you're just throwing something against the wall and hoping it sticks. That's all it is. I just don't. They have to figure out.
But that's where they're at right now. I mean, if we're being perfectly honest, that's also where they're at. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I just think long term that's going to come back to bite them in the ass. When they lose, I really think it's going to be. I think it'll be in January. I think it'll be in the playoffs, but there's just teams that are going to take advantage of what's there, other than Bosa, who you see the clips. Bosa has 3 guys on him,
right?
And everybody else is 1-on-1, and there's still not a lot of winning going on. So,
well, and I'm going to be interested to see, I feel like one of the reasons why the 49ers defensive line, outside of being wildly talented, because it has been for quite a few years now, but they also did a great job of running and disguising stunts and things of that nature. And I feel like I haven't seen that a lot so far. And I'm wondering if, again, that's kind of something that they're gearing up for the second half, with Chris Kasurik and with Brandon Staley and with Nick Sorensen. Like, are we going to start to see a little bit more of that, right? As players have gotten a little bit more comfortable with Nick Sorensen as the defensive play caller. Obviously, Chris Kasurik has been there for a long time. But I think that's where guys like Yetur Gross-Matos come in, right? Where all of a sudden you've got guys that, on obvious passing downs now, you can have Nick Bosa, you can have Malik Collins or Khalil Davis or Kevin Gibbons, right? In the middle, you could have Yetur Gross-Matos in the middle, right? Where now you've got Yetur Gross-Matos on a guard instead of a tackle. And then you've got Leonard Floyd on that, right? Like, I just think that there is enough talent there for it to be more productive. I just think I think regardless of whether or not this is true, because we don't know a whole lot, but I do think they missed a guy like Yetur Gross-Matos, because I do think that's kind of was their plan, right? That inside outside versatility. They don't really have it right now, because Floyd, Beal, and, as you called him, Sam Okawanu.
Samio, baby.
They aren't inside outside guys. They are just outside guys. And so you haven't been able to have what you normally have, where you had a guy like Charles Omenihu who could go inside outside. Had a guy like Arden Key who could do it. You had a guy like Jordan Willis who could do it. They are missing that piece right now. They signed Yetur Gross-Matos to be that piece. And it'll be interesting to see if that indeed does start to create a situation where the 49ers are getting more pressure, more hurries, and hopefully more sacks.
Yeah, he's still got to prove it to me, because I didn't notice a lot before he got injured.
Sure.
And he's dude coming from the Panthers. It's not like you sign this big time free agent. He was somebody from the Panthers who you hope you're getting upside and is going to fit into your system and you can improve it.
He was a guy that they liked in the draft, though. That's the one thing where I'm like, they did like him in the draft, and the Panthers took him, obviously before the 49ers could. So they obviously saw something in him that they liked. And again, hoping that Chris Kasurik can unlock it. We just, he hasn't. We haven't been able to see him. I mean, he's been out since week 2.
I don't even remember.
I think
it was
it's
early,
week
but I
2.
don't remember what week it was.
So
We'll
he
see.
just hasn't had a whole lot of
new
opportunity either.
New team, it takes some time to get going, to get used to the system, get used to playing with people that you're with. So you do have to give them the benefit of the doubt. I just, we'll see. But I said before the season started, I wasn't overly optimistic with what they did really on the defensive line, other than Malik Collins, who I like. But they're a second half team. The Niners are a second half team. These are new players. It's a new system. It's a new defensive line. Let's see if any teams are in the benefit of the doubt after the bye. It's the 49ers.
3 games.
So
after the third
three
game,
games he did.
He went on
after
IR.
the third game was okay. So
Yep.
I knew it was early, but they're playing a Bucs team that's. I guess I want to start with Baker Mayfield because I think he's a hell of a story. A guy who you thought was
missed practice
done.
Again today.
Yeah, they said he's good though. They said it's not an issue. I was just told they from what I heard, he's good to go.
Okay.
And if he's not, this game is a cakewalk. But he's played phenomenal this season. It looked like his career was over, going from the Browns to the Panthers to the Rams, and then he gets with the Bucs. He wins the starting job. He leads the NFL with 23 touchdown passes. 23. He's got a 71.4 completion percentage. That's behind Jaden Daniels and Jared Goff. That's it. Jared Goff doesn't even throw in completion. So, but it's terrific at 71.4. They looked down Godwin, down Evans. They gave the Chiefs all they could handle on Monday night.
Yeah.
All they could handle. I was so impressed with what they did. And I think they're going to give the Niners all they can handle too. They're 4-5. Even if they lose to the 49ers, say they go 4-6, their next 7 games are the Giants win, Panthers win, Raiders win, Chargers, I'll say a loss.
Yeah.
Cowboys, I'll say a win. Panthers win, Saints win. They can go 10-7, even if they end up 4-6 here. They'll get Evans back after the bye. And they're one of those teams in the NFC. We went over the Rams and the Cardinals when we were talking about it last show. We said, they can both end up 9-10 wins, maybe. Well, now so a team that the Bucs that you're not even thinking about can end up with 10 wins too. This NFC is going to be really, really tight. So when you look at it that way, it's a big game for the 49ers. This is a big conference game for the 49ers to win because it could be a team, the way things are shaking out, if they are fighting for the wild card, could be a team that they need a victory over.
Yeah, and the likelihood is that they're going to be a wild card team because they've already played the Falcons twice and lost to them both times.
Yeah, they're not winning the division.
Yeah, but yeah, they're also a team that is on a 3-game losing streak right now, in which they've given up 30, 31, and 41 points. So the defense isn't playing very well for them.
Stinks, yeah.
It's the offense that has really been carrying them. And, it's interesting. Like you said, they gave the Chiefs all they can handle. And then you look at Baker Mayfield's stat line, and he was 23 of 31 for 200 yards. So a 6.4 yard average. Did have 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, sacked twice. And then he had 4 scrambles and he got 20 yards. So he's averaging 5 on a scramble. It's interesting. Like you said, because they played the Chiefs really well. And in fact, they, were up on the Chiefs, and then the Chiefs tied it. And then, it was a back and forth game. And it was in Arrowhead, which is even more impressive. But it's, I don't know. It's, they don't have a run game to speak of. And you look at the number of attempts. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you just look at the games, right? Like, and maybe again, it's because the defense isn't playing well and they're going big early, but 31 attempts against the Chiefs, 50 against, I'm talking Baker Mayfield, 50 against the Falcons, 45 against the Ravens, 36 against the Saints, 24 against the Falcons, 47 against the Eagles, 33 against the Broncos, 19 against the Lions, in a game that they won in week 2 against the Lions, which is wild. And then 30 against the Commanders. So again, they are more pass happy than they are running, which I think bodes well for the 49ers. The question is, I don't think Charvarius Ward is going to play, which means that Renardo Green also, real quick, back up. What an absolute tragedy for the Ward family. And just brutal. Just thoughts and wishes go out to them. Tomorrow is the funeral for his daughter in Dallas. Again, I can't imagine. I don't even want to imagine. So again, our best to Charvarius Ward and his family. But what that also means is that more than likely Renardo Green gets his first NFL start, which is big. Again, obviously nice that he doesn't have to guard Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, but again, it is a team that has a very successful passing attack, and it'll be interesting to see how the 49ers defense fares against them.
Well, the running game, so Rashad White, 3.9 yards per carry, and he was the main back early in the season. But as the season's gone on, Bucky Irving has gotten more run. He's averaging 5 yards a carry. And Sean Tucker, who's out of Syracuse, nice change of pace guy for them. He's got 7.2 yards per carry, and he's been carrying the ball a little bit more lately. So overall, they're actually tied with the Niners at 5.1 yards per carry. While they don't run a lot, it seems like they have been successful more as they've gone on with those guys. The big weapon right now with Evans and Godwin out has been Cade Otton. We both have on our fantasy teams, so we know. Last 3 games, 31 targets, 25 catches, 258 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The Niners have given up the third most receptions to touchdowns, third most receptions to tight ends, not to touchdowns. 2 tight ends in the NFL. Cade Otton could end up having a big game, and he's been their go-to guy. I don't think there's going to be enough there to beat the 49ers. Their offense is 6th in yards per play. They're 2nd in first downs, 4th in points. Again, a lot of that was with Godwin and with Mike Evans in the lineup. They're very good in the red zone, 70.6%. That's second to only the Ravens. And the Niners are 28th right now at 48.6%. But you mentioned that defense, Brian. 5.8 yards per play given up. Only the Saints, the Jags, the Cowboys, and the Panthers have higher yards per play for defense.
Which is wild because Todd Bowles is a defensive guy.
You wouldn't know it from watching them. You can throw on them. They've given up the 3rd most yards, but only 10.7 yards per completion, which is 3rd best in the NFL. So teams throw on them a lot, but it at least from the numbers, it doesn't show that they're getting big plays. I don't know that that's the case or not. And they're giving up 4.9 yards per carry, which is the 5th most. So that defense, I think this is a game the Niners can come out and score a lot of points. I think I don't think it'll be an easy game because the Bucs are a scrappy team. The Bucs are going to hang around, but I think that they're going to score a lot of points. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. The question is, can the 49ers defense limit the Bucs offense, or is this going to be a shootout? And I don't know the answer. I really don't. Like you said, given up, Cade Otton is their biggest weapon. The 49ers haven't been able to stop. A lot of that, I think, is attributed to Fred Warner being really the only linebacker that can cover anybody on the team right now. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. They brought a familiar face back. Tayshaun Gibson is back on the practice squad. They also have Adrian Amos on the practice squad. And then you've got Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown. It'll be interesting to see if they activate one or both of those guys. And it'll be interesting to see if they play more, maybe 3 safeties. Again, just trying to limit the real weapon, the real only weapon that offense currently has in the receiving game in Cade Otton. Because if they plan on having Devondre Campbell be that guy, that's going to be just an absolute nightmare. So it'll be interesting to see. Someone in the chat said, off topic, but how's Jordan Mason's injured shoulder doing? Mason was a full participant in practice on Wednesday. He was a limited participant today, but I have a feeling that he's going to suit up and he'll be ready. And so, you're looking at, again, CMC, Mason, and Garendo, your 3 running backs on Sunday.
The only people who did not practice as of Thursday were Conley, Gibbons, and obviously Ward, who Kyle Shanahan said were on his timeline. Prayers to him, whatever he needs to do.
Yep.
Those were the only 3 who did not participate in practice. Everybody else did. It looks like McCaffrey, knock on wood.
Yeah.
It looks like he's coming back. It looks like he's going to be there, and that can change a lot. I think it's going to change the line of the game, everything, once they know he's going to play. But I also don't think Kyle's going to say anything until before the game. Why would he?
Right.
Why would he say anything about McCaffrey?
Well, and then the other thing that you got to think about is, speaking of guys that practice windows have been opened, it's CMC, it's Yetur Gross-Matos, it's also John Feliciano, who had his practice window opened. Those 3 aren't currently not taking up space on the 53 man because they were on injured reserve. So there's moves that will have to be made as well if they activate those players. Now, obviously, CMC will be activated, and then Jennings, but Jennings wasn't on IR. So, it'll
Brian,
be
in vintage El Sacco analysis, I just said I don't expect Kyle to say anything until before the game. Kyle said on KNBR he expects McCaffrey to make a season debut against the Buccaneers.
Oh, there you go.
So, vintage me. I was wrong, and it looks like McCaffrey's going to be ready. So
yeah, and again, I based on everything that has been said, it certainly seemed like that was going to be the case. So again, it'll be interesting to see what moves they make. One of the things that we talked about though is what is John Feliciano's role on this team now that he's coming back as well. I'll be interested to see. I don't think that's this week, just because I don't think they need to activate him. But I just Jake Brendel is not it, man.
That would be the only move. If they
I don't know if they're plugging him in at center or not. I just don't know.
That would be the only move I could see. If Purdy was struggling as a rookie, you say, all right, does he need to get back in there at guard? But Purdy's been phenomenal. He's been their second best lineman. He's not.
Although Banks
for a long time.
Banks has not had a great year, so it could be there. So it could be.
Would he go over to the left? But I don't foresee it. I think he'll probably be the swing player in the backup. That's my guess anyway. But the Brendel stuff, I feel like it's his last year as center. They have to go somewhere else next year. I mean, Feliciano's on a 1-year deal, but we'll see what happens there. I'm not sure, but man, I didn't think we were going to see McCaffrey again this year. I was really like, I'm not going to believe it until I see him on the field. So that he's going to play, that is phenomenal. That's great. And it just changes the fortunes of everything. You're adding arguably the best player in the league, the best offensive player in the league, arguably.
Well, the reigning offensive player of the year.
Yeah.
So there you go.
He's right up there with impact. Like, someone like Justin Jefferson, who's a 1 of 1, the impact he makes just being on the field. That's McCaffrey too. You just put him out there and it changes everything. So this offense will be changed in a lot of ways with him just coming back there. And I think it's going to help Purdy a ton. Can't wait to see him. Now I'm really excited.
Yeah. It's going to be a welcome sight for sure. For 49er fans.
All right, Brian, predictions for this game. We're probably going to say the same score. I think the Niners are going to hit 30. They're going to score some points this week. The Bucs will as well. 34-23 Niners.
Okay. We will not have the same score. So
that's
excellent.
That's the first.
I also do think that they hit 30, especially with CMC back. I think some of those issues that we've seen in the red zone, we will see them start converting a little bit more. It may not look like it did last year because again, it's the first game back with CMC, but I do think that they're going to be more successful in the red zone. Again, they will have Kittle, Debo, Jennings, CMC, Ricky Pearsall. Like the weapons are there. They're coming off a bye. They're infamously really good in the second half, really good off the bye. So I do think they hit 30 as well. But I don't know what to expect from this defense. I haven't seen a whole lot that is like, well, I'm really impressed. So I'm going to say 49ers 31 and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 24. So 31-24 is my prediction for final score.
Niners have not won back-to-back games
yet this season.
So this would be the first time that they do that if they win this game, and we think that they will. This is the deepest into a season they've gone without winning at least 2 games since 2018. So odds are that they're going to get their winning streak going at some point, and it's got to be now.
Yeah.
Hey, before we get out of here, I want to tell fans I'm doing a giveaway. I want to thank FOCO, who's been great to us, FOCO.com. If you go to my Twitter page, I'll retweet it again too. FOCO is giving away a retro 49ers t-shirt and hat. You just either have to like it and or retweet it, and you'll get entered to do that, and I'll pick a winner before the game. There's also on my Twitter page, if you can pre-order legendary number bobbleheads, one of Terrell Owens, one of Steve Young. That's not a giveaway. You'd have to buy that, but they're awesome. And I'm going to be at the 49ers Rush event in Buffalo, and Focal gave me some really cool stuff to give away. I got a bobblehead to give away. I got a tumbler to give away. Then I'll be with our buddy John Chapman, who's got his own stuff happening there, giveaways and everything else. We'll be doing that there as well. So thanks so much to Focal for giving us stuff and supporting 49ers fans and everything like that. We appreciate them for that. We appreciate you guys.
Yes. And
Thanks for
make sure that
listening.
you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel, rate and review if you haven't already, all that good stuff. And we'll be back.
Subscribe to the pod.
Yeah.
Just subscribe everywhere, man.
Yeah. Anything that you see that says 49ers Web Zone, No Huddle Podcast, just subscribe.
Just hit the button, man, dude. Just subscribe. Subscribe. Oh, I made an Instagram account. I don't know what I'm doing with that stuff, but I did that for the show. There's something on TikTok someplace. So you can go anywhere and find us. Just go there and subscribe. We appreciate you guys for that. Until then,
we'll be back.
We will
analyze what we hope is a win. Right? 31-24.
Thanks.
Later.